This episode is brought to you by our patron supporters.
I'm just kidding.
That was crazy.
No, follow through. Follow through.
No, I'm not doing that. This episode is brought to you by our patron supporters. Today's patron of the day is Megan, who can't wait to read Promise's new book. She said that on Patreon. Patrons get the show always ad-free and access to extended episodes with that bonus content. If you don't want to miss all of that, go to patreon.com/calltheline. That is
Patreon.com/calltheline.
Wow.
Y'all can just love it together.
Love it.
Onto the show. So loud in my ears. I'm gonna fix that. Welcome everybody to The Line is a Podcast. I'm Jimmy Snow.
I'm Promise Backlund.
I'm Melissa Lube.
You interrupted. That was so rude.
My bad. I'm so sorry.
Jimmy! I don't come to the podcast for like 2 episodes and suddenly
And then Jimmy's like, you're not even here.
literally. Wow.
Look, it's honestly a miracle that I don't talk over Promise too, because in my notes it just says I'm your name in brackets. There's not even a spot for the two of you. I've just
Jimmy's like, I heard one name, so I'm moving on.
Got it.
That was too many already.
Good enough. I just thought Promise would one of these days just to see if anybody even catches it. Now we have to wait a while because I'm going to say it, but we have to just say the wrong names all 3 times, but totally like don't address it at all.
That would be fun.
And just move on.
I love this idea.
Yeah,
I
I feel
this
like
idea.
you
Right.
two swapping would be the easiest one because nobody's gonna like. If I was like, I'm Promise Backlund, and you were like, I'm Jimmy Snow, and that could be either one of you, whichever that impression is closer to.
I hope you know that my plan is to beat you to introducing yourself, and I'm going to be Jimmy Snow.
Okay,
T,
word.
I love that.
That's happening.
we
And
can
then
dress
Alyssa's
up
going to
as
know.
each other someday.
Alyssa's going to know that's her cue to say, I'm Promise Backlund, and then you're left.
We should dress up as each other. You could like come in
Are
with
we
like
not kind of right now anyway?
well,
That's
yeah.
true.
There's.
I feel like Promise
I'm the only
and
one
I,
with a distinct look here.
Yeah, Promise and I think, dress
Rude.
enough alike that I don't know that we could.
Yeah.
I'm putting knee on the podcast.
Wow.
wow.
For
just
free?
Anybody who's only listening to the audio version of the podcast, we're actually doing this episode completely naked. We are nude, and you don't know that we're not. So that's
And
there you go.
we means Jimmy's knee.
Yeah,
Jimmy's knees
there's
fully
some-
exposed. Look at that calf.
Look, I'm-
Springtime on
I'm
the
like-
line. Jimmy's legs are out and about.
Sun's
I-
out, calves out.
I don't know why, but I love saying "Sun's out, guns out" in an impression of Mike Tyson. Thuns out, guns out. It's just funny. It just is, and it's mean, you know. But I grew up with a lisp. You can still pick up on it, especially when I say the word lisp, which is such a cruel thing to call it.
It really is.
It really
So mean.
I've always wondered why that.
Why would you
worked
make
out
it
that
that?
way.
But yeah,
It's
I don't
so
know.
Bad.
I feel like I'm. By the way, I'm losing weight again. I had balanced out,
I
and suddenly
noticed.
It's more is coming off. It's
I
weird.
noticed, like, when I spoke to you a couple of days ago, I was like, "Are you thinner than you?" And then I was like, "At what point are we worried?"
Look, I could still stand to lose another like 15 and be fine. But if it like
Okay.
continues beyond that, I'm like, what aren't we finding?
I think
We've been looking.
Alyssa
We've been
and I-
looking. I've got a brown bag kit downstairs that I'm gonna do it tomorrow. You know what I'm talking about when I say a brown bag
Yeah.
kit, the kit they give you in a
Yeah.
brown bag.
Yeah.
I gotta return my brown bag tomorrow.
Right.
I was actually supposed to do it last week, but birthday week and I cold and then
Yeah.
people who weren't watching didn't. I had a cold. Then Sunday we didn't. It's funny, 2 weeks in a row because of sickness we didn't do the show from the Monday show because of my sickness. The first week was a cold, and then this week was bronchitis, real
Insane.
intense.
sad.
But it's gotten a lot better. I'm still coughing plenty, but I think I'm okay for this show.
Coughs last forever. It's so annoying.
You know what? Before the show, you all were talking about my even toning, and I just realized it's just because I'm sick. All the blood is out of. I'm gaunt.
I'm
It's
gone.
what I am.
Well, your gauntness is nice and even throughout
and
your
gorgeous.
complexion. It
I'm
looks
usually, like,
lovely.
pale with rosacea, but now I'm like so sick
just
that
pale.
the rosacea is pale too.
Just pale.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be 35 though? You had a birthday. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
I mean, we've talked since then, but you haven't podcasted since.
No
then,
different. I feel older always already. like I've had
Always.
the colon of an 80-year-old since my teen years.
God.
So
Or one could argue
Crazy.
the colon of a newborn baby.
no. Well, maybe. I don't know. Let me try breast milk and see if that evens things out. If that like fixes
That's what
things.
you've been missing. That's
Yeah.
been the problem this
I just
whole
need
time.
breast milk.
Isn't it like a health trend to drink colostrum, which is like in breast milk?
To quote you, I fear that is true.
Colostrum.
Yikes.
What is colostrum exactly?
It's like something that's in breast milk.
I think it's the first part of breast milk, like when you either right before you give birth or right when you give birth, and it's this like nutrient dense, like fatty. I'm probably getting this so wrong, and I can't wait for all the breastfeeding moms to correct me, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's like super intense breast milk.
Got it. All I know is as far as colostrum and whatever. Colostrum? What did you call it?
Colostrum.
Colostrum.
And then now we have to ban certain foods because RFK Jr. can't pronounce the chemical name for vitamin B2, riboflavin. Did you see this?
I thought it was riboflavin. Riboflavin.
Does it? Oh,
Doesn't matter.
Okay, it is.
It doesn't matter,
It is
'cause we all
actually
know what we're talking
riboflavin
about.
because riboflavin is nuts. But whatever, that's fine. The point is that it's vitamin B. Who thought it was riboflavin?
Me, which is why I just said that.
Oh, right.
So,
And nuts. Okay, so riboflavin. Hang on, I'm gonna say it like you.
It's riboflavin.
Is vitamin B2.
I resent that.
And
Every part of me resents that impression.
RFK Jr. got up and said, "Oh, let's see these ingredients. I can't even pronounce them. You've got riboflavin." He said riboflam or riboflam or some weird. He didn't even pronounce the V at
It
all.
happens to the best of us.
Yeah. Well, first of all,
Yeah, but he's
listen. You can't. It's not your fault, RFK Jr., but you can't pronounce anything correctly because of your condition. So why are we banning things you can't pronounce correctly?
Fair enough.
Asparagus. That is not how it is pronounced. It's asparagus. They're being so like, I don't want to get canceled, so we're going to meet this stone face, but they think it's hilarious, just so everybody knows.
well.
Every
but
episode, we get closer and closer to
I
cancellation.
know.
I'm
earlier
dying
and
for
earlier
it.
in
You know,
the
like the
episode.
one of my
scar.
favorite moments on the podcast was when I said something and then Jimmy was like, "Here, I'll say something worse," and then Promise was like, "Well, I'll be the only one back here on the podcast next week."
Yeah, that was, I think, episode 1. By
I
the way.
think so.
I think it was. Also,
Y'all like.
listen,
we're all still
I'm
here.
featuring
This
the
is
other
great.
knee with the big scar. This is where they put the rod in my leg. I have a
I didn't know
titanium
you did
core.
Oh, I
Rod
didn't know
and
that.
leg things.
titanium
That's
core
a
is
lot.
crazy.
Yeah.
Also, hot take: RFK should be able to pronounce riboflavin or whatever if he's going to be a health official. Like,
Oh man,
Promise Backlund, you don't need to know how to. It's fine.
the number of things
You're
that
not a
they're
health
finding,
official.
like cabinet officials are not aware of, is like getting longer and longer. I'm trying to remember who the person they put in charge of the Department of Education wasn't aware of a law that has to do with like poor. It's like one of the most important education laws about poor kids having access to education.
Well,
like,
just hiring people are so grossly
I've never heard of
unqualified.
that thing. Reminds me of when that libertarian guy went on Morning Joe. The guy who Gary Johnson went on Morning Joe years ago. He's like, I'm going to run for president. I'll be the best president. He's like, what would you do about Aleppo? And Johnson goes, and what is Aleppo?
my
And they're like,
Oh boy.
so what? And it's like, fucking Christ. And listen, there's probably plenty of people listening right now who don't know that Aleppo is in Syria and it's the whole like, it was like the Syrian conflict shit
Yeah,
happening
but
there.
are they running for
You're
president?
not running for president. Right.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
The context matters.
right. A
does.
licensed esthetician should know how to say riboflavin, but only a person running for president should.
he's out to get me on this episode. This is
You
war.
thought it was pronounced ribo? Where would you have ever heard that?
Wait,
Maybe from our elected
Yeah.
officials. I don't
Right.
You know
know,
what?
Jimmy.
Do you know what
right.
I'm doing? Is I'm quadrupling down, so it'll be even funnier if it turns out that I'm the one who is wrong.
Yeah,
you don't
now
even
I'm
know for
confused.
sure.
I'm confused on which
know
one
what?
is right now.
All right, let's find out from Google. Let's play it.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like it's going to be neither of us. That'll be the
I feel like
funnier
you're
one.
right. I feel like we all fucked it up.
Riboflavin.
Nah, sorry. It was me.
Is that what you said?
Riboflavin.
Now I don't even
Riboflavin.
remember.
Riboflavin.
Riboflavin is what
Which
I
is
said.
really dumb because how am I supposed to know that the
Riboflavin.
eye is a like true eye?
Did you
you know?
guys ever see? We're going to get to
Like
the news and stuff.
rib is RIB.
Yeah.
The
So why would it
McRiboflavin is back.
Yeah. You're right.
Let me say this. We're going to be talking about this mega church founder who got indicted, Donald Trump, and some he is becoming his own worst enemy, RFK Jr. We're going to talk about that. And I actually want to talk about Pokemon Go, but let's also go back to what we were just talking about because I'm more interested in all of this. Did y'all ever see there was a YouTube channel years ago that was like, in fact, it looked exactly like you see, let me see, can I zoom this? If people are watching, I'm showing like the Google result where there's like a YouTube video that you can click to watch what the pronunciation of riboflavin is. Okay. And it was a YouTube channel that had fake pronunciations that looked exactly like the real ones.
Shut up.
So it
Does
would
that
like
still exist?
I think it does. Hang on,
hilarious.
I gotta see if I can find a specific one. So there's the potential that like it's a little bit mean because if you are foreign and you are looking up pronunciations, you're coming across this whole like thing. But oh man,
Listen, here's the thing. I am married to somebody whose first language is not English, and every now and then he doesn't know what a word is. Like, my favorite word that I ever got to teach him is tinkle, because he didn't know what that word is. I said, like, I have to tinkle, and he was like, you have to what? The other day, he was like, so it's an exorcism. And my favorite thing is now when he'll ask about something, I like to see how long I can convince him that the word he's asked about means a completely different thing. And I don't know how ethical that is. Oh God.
Okay, so
if you can't see the screen, please
here's the
describe
video explaining how to pronounce. I almost want for the people who can't see it to have to try and figure it out in their head.
Great, let's not
If you
say
haven't
what
looked at
the
screen,
word is.
Yeah,
see if you
let's
can
not say.
guess what. This is the pronunciation of a certain C word.
Oh no.
Let me hit the thing.
That's what she said.
Kilt tor teneris. A kilt?
What?
Tor teneris. Kilt tor.
There's no N. What?
Kilt tortenerus.
That isn't even remotely
Crazy.
close to...
How do you wait?
I just found this channel so fucking funny.
What's the channel?
It's called Pronunciation Manual, and they don't do much anymore. Okay, let's see what this one is. Please don't be fascist. This is how to.
So many ways you could go with this.
Oh boy.
Cambambula, harshness.
Pamela Parsons for Kamala Harris. By the way, for people who are wondering, a kilt tortanerus was clitoris. Oh my goodness! You know what's actually on here is riboflavin from 9 months ago. Let's find out.
Stop.
Britoflabibian.
I was close, guys. I was so close.
Riboflavin. Oh, almost played the Childish Gambino song. Little foot, big foot, get out the way. Anyway, we have news and stuff we probably should talk about. What do you
Yeah, I
think?
guess that's irrelevant.
Or not. I don't care. Hey, here's your question of the day. And not that many, but the best response I saw to last week, how do you resist now, was by supporting the line on Patreon, which, yeah, totally. But other than that, the hard part is like the fact that no one had a good response is sort of the problem we're finding where we're finding ourselves right now. Is like, yeah, does anyone have a good response of how to resist? What to do? Anyway, today's question of the day. We'd love to hear from you. And we're going to be talking about this topic, so you might want to wait to answer or do it now. I don't care. I'm not your dad. I could be, but I'm probably not. I'm some of your daddies, but not your dad. Question of the day today is, you've seen the way I've owned some of these collars. They should call me daddy. Anyway.
New podcast name. Oh, wait. It's taken.
Damn.
We could call him daddy. Call him daddy instead of call her daddy.
I'll call myself daddy is the name of my new podcast.
Jimmy calls himself daddy, the new podcast.
Yeah.
I look in the
Great.
mirror.
I look in the mirror.
And I just, right before I finish. So the question of the day is Donald Trump turning his own supporters, both voters and funders, away finally? Are people starting to notice and wake up and turn on the motherfucker? We'll find out after these. Now let's do a story. Well, how far in are we?
15.
That's what.
Do you feel like we need a moment to reset to get back into the news? Any other wild, crazy, weird stuff y'all want to bring up or talk about from the week before we like get into the actual main show? Promise in last episode we have comments from both people.
That was
people
really funny.
complaining that I'm interrupting you and people complaining that you interrupt me.
That's on the same episode.
And you know what? They're all right.
Yep.
That's the thing. God forbid we actually just like talk like we do in a conversation. I would love to listen to anybody's actual conversations where they're close friends and they don't actually interrupt each other. Maybe this happens.
Yeah.
I just think we all just did it. This is like part of conversation. That's what you do.
But we also like know like when another person is wrapping up, we also have each other's like flow down too, where it's like, okay, they're actually like, they are losing the steam of this sentence and waiting for somebody to pick up.
Correct.
Which rhythmically happens all the time. But then I would say the most important thing when I just think about myself interrupting Promise, usually when I interrupt Promise is like just making a great point. And as she's finishing up, I'm realizing it would sound better coming out of my voice, out of my mouth. Like just if a
Obviously.
man were to say it, it would have the added
because
authority.
you're a man, of course.
Right. The confidence of my low hanging balls.
Absolutely.
Right. Like if she just says it, you walk away not knowing that I'm insecure about the fact that as I get older, I am more often having my balls hit the water. And that's like
I don't
a
even know
scary
what that
like,
means, but that.
oh, when you sit
Sit
on
when
the
you pee?
toilet.
Oh God.
No, but you still have to sit when you poop.
Right.
Right.
That's
So
more
when you
upsetting
sit.
to me because then that means your balls are touching poop water.
Yeah. Well,
Which
okay. For
feels
the record, you generally sit down and then begin pooping. And so you will know at the beginning. Granted, like that water, it's like,
But
you
then
know,
what
it's
do? Do you take your balls and throw them over your shoulder? What are you supposed to do?
Right. This is
usually
where-
the
I have not ever
reaction
thought
to
about
like
this.
touching it doesn't happen every time, but it's like toilets, especially in like the hotel that we stayed at on my birthday. In the suite, I got like a little, and usually what'll happen is you just like, because you're aware of it, you kind of like suck them up into your body because you
Can
kind of
you
can.
do that?
Yeah, that's how they react to cold.
What do
Also,
you-
they'll
Yeah.
pull up to your body.
I
It's
know
not
they react
easy
to
do.
cold. Are you
Yeah.
mentally just like, let me just
Oh yeah, you can
lift my balls up real quick?
You
Is
can
that a
definitely
thing?
lift up, but you can't really hold them that easily. But when you're in that sat position, you can kind of like do that and then just be in a generally
God.
like slightly more tense position, or maybe adjust your seating.
So
more.
what are
As
the
you've
what
been
are the
explaining
oldies
this-
doing?
They just float them. I mean, okay, theoretically, if you had to, you can also like put a finger on each side of your dick and just kind of like pull
Just do
up
a little
skin and it'll like
facelift
kind of hold it up
movement.
there. Yeah. Yeah, it
Like
wouldn't be
as
too
we've
bad.
been talking about this, I've been like doing Kegels.
Yep. Same. Absolutely same. Lifting my balls.
Yeah, literally. I too am lifting my balls.
You're probably doing the muscle, but it's probably the same muscle group
Yeah,
too. Because
probably.
it like if it's the same muscle group that also like if
Is
you
it
need to
your
hold in a
pelvic
fart
floor?
or stop yourself from peeing, yeah, it's your pelvic floor.
Okay.
It's the whole.
I like
same.
that we started talking about us interrupting each other and now we're talking about your balls hitting poop water, but whatever.
Again,
I like that. It gives
never the
this
poop water.
podcast-
It's like it's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the best. Like if you had to drink toilet water to survive, you would only drink out of the tank, not because there is going to be some residual particles. But yeah, no. The more awkward part is the fact that I have like some health OCD issues. So I have to wait, if it's a public bathroom, I have to wait for everybody to leave, then like run out and prepare like a little towel with hand soap and a little wet towel, and then go back into, because I'm gonna clean my balls in the public bathroom. I'm not just gonna walk around thinking that there's stranger particles on my balls.
Stranger particles.
This is something that I've never had to consider, and I
Yeah.
feel like this,
Wow.
like these moments where there are things that I've never had to consider that are inconveniences. It always is the other way around. It's like women have so many of those that are
Right.
inconvenient, you know.
But there
But
are
I've
a few
seen-
that men have.
Y'all
nice.
splash
It's nice.
everywhere somehow I've seen how dirty women's bathrooms get
Okay.
too.
Okay,
And
you
like
wanna know
women's
why?
toilet seats.
Okay, don't
You wanna know
yell
why?
us.
It's because
no.
women don't want to sit on the seat, so they
Sure.
hover over the seat, and then it gets
And they
peed
make it hell
everywhere.
for the rest of
Fine,
us.
Exactly,
fine.
just
I'm
sit
going
on the
somewhere with
seat.
this though.
But also, wait, I want to say
Jimmy's
something
like,
else
you're
about-
interrupting me.
I'm just saying
talking
that
about
you
interrupting
actually-
each other.
You've
Talking
had
about
the
balls.
issue. I'm sure at some point you flushed the toilet
Yeah.
and felt drips hit your labia,
Yeah, but
and
you
that's
get-
the
you
exact same thing because that is your scrotum.
Yeah, but you should. I feel like I get up before I flush.
Yep.
But also, people.
Yep.
For anybody who's
Every
listening-
time? What if
Yep.
you've had
Yeah.
a massive shit and so you need to do a multi-flush
Never
situation?
have done
don't-
that in my life.
Yeah, not in like
so-
a. I've never done that in like a public.
Or
place,
like
for
you felt
sure.
like you needed to like use a couple of rounds, like you ate something and it made it stickier, so you had to do a couple of rounds of toilet paper. So
No,
you're doing a
back to
multi-flush
the ball
situation.
thing. Could you theoretically
Or when it's
make,
like, or what about
make
when
a
it
hammock?
stinks? I'm not done with the
Listen,
poop situations. What about when it stinks so much that
Never
you're like, I
happened
have to
to
do a
me.
courtesy flush, otherwise it's gonna
Never
permeate.
happened to
Oh
me.
bullshit!
Never happened to me.
Liars.
But,
Okay.
but back to your balls. Could you theoretically make a hammock out
Right.
of toilet paper?
Oh, that would be cute.
A hammock
Right,
out
do you
of
get what I'm
toilet
saying?
paper?
Yeah,
Like a
Yeah, like
turtleneck,
just like a little, like-
wrap it.
No,
No, like couldn't you just
put it
like
under,
scoop it? You just scoop it and then
a
just
sling.
like.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
sling, and you just like.
I feel the toilet paper would slip. I have heavy balls. Would like break
Nice.
at the.
What if you doubled it? Just
Nice.
double.
I've
I'm
always-
talking about like nice toilet paper.
Yeah.
Are you
And
trying
then,
to
like-
innovate your way, like an invention, like a
Yeah.
You know
like an
what?
actual balls hammock?
There they have these like silicone strap things that you're supposed that you put under your. It's like really.
Oh yes, I know
Yeah,
what you're
and
talking
you
about.
put it
Like to
on
help
your
with
ears
yes.
to help with
But you could put it.
buy that ball hammock.
Yeah.
Love it.
You could
Great,
just
good
instead of
idea.
putting it on your ears, you could wrap it around a couple of times and then secure it to the dick.
Beautiful. Oh
Yeah.
my god, that's actually really funny to think about because it has like holes on either side to put your ears in to just like
But you could just
pull up
loop
your
it.
balls and just like loop it onto your penis.
Perfect.
Wow, innovators.
Cool.
Hopefully
Problem
it
solved.
doesn't. Then it's like holding your penis a certain direction. So you're like, okay, my balls are safe. Then you just relax and you're peeing over the ledge of the seat. You're like, shit. Hope there's a drain on the floor.
We'll workshop it. We'll
Yeah,
workshop
yeah.
it.
Yeah, we're taking this to Shark Tank. Just so
Clearly.
everybody knows, you will
Literally.
see the
You're witnessing history right now.
Yeah.
what's the
Innovation.
name of this product? The testicle
Oh.
hammock. It's something we've got.
I gotta chat GPT this. Hang on.
While
Yeah.
you do that, I need to say for anyone who is
Oh,
a
the
vulva
besties
owner,
for your testes. Boom.
Oh, your testy bestie.
That's it.
That's good.
Done.
Okay, if you
Go
have
ahead.
if you have a vagina, please sit when you pee because it's really bad for your pelvic floor to hover above the seat, and you are going to reduce your pelvic floor strength doing that. So please just sit and use seat covers, and also do your best to not pee in the shower because that's also bad for your pelvic floor.
Do you remember when the blue
Guys.
dress, yellow dress thing happened?
Yes, I do.
I
do
felt
too.
for the longest time that anyone who said they saw gold, white and gold, that they were just gaslighting everybody else. Like it was like an inside joke, and they were like, I totally
But
saw
I
white and
did
gold.
see white and gold.
Right. I now know that that is probably
Okay.
true. Or I kind of believe that's true. But I sort of thought for the longest time. Recently on Reddit, somebody said something and a bunch of people were like, yeah, no, that's normal. And I was like, is it happening again? Are they? So I have to ask, I want to know, here's the real question of the day for people. Do you stand up to wipe?
No.
No.
I don't. But
That would be-
supposedly
That
a
would be
lot of
weird.
people do.
Wait,
Supposedly
hold
a
on. That
lot of
doesn't
them
make
do.
sense. That doesn't
I
make
know.
sense because I don't
I
trust
know.
the wife. I don't trust the wife if you're doing
talking
that.
about we're talking about the dookie for the record. We're talking about duty wipes.
Oh,
for the
I know
record.
nothing about that, but just
Right,
wiping in
because Promise
general,
still pretends to never poop.
I just don't. I'm a girl, so
Yeah.
it doesn't happen.
She's like a Barbie.
But-
no hole.
Do you worry
Exactly.
that? Do you worry that you're actually
don't worry.
perpetuating a harmful joke?
No, I don't.
Do
I
you
don't
think
know.
maybe-
It's not
do
a
you-
joke. This
you're
is
like-
my
It's
real
real.
life. This is
I
actually
think-
my reality, Jimmy. So
I think that
If you
there's
could just
probably
be
a lot of
sensitive to the reality
beautiful,
that
lovely
Promise
women with
experiences. I agree.
horrible IBS who hate this joke.
and for them,
So sorry.
they have other people. I cannot help them with that.
I think you're ruining their
Also,
lives.
I did look up names for our new innovation, and
Hey,
here's
but we
a
already
few.
solved it.
No,
Bestie,
because some of these are
testy,
kind of
bestie,
good too.
testy. Okay, go ahead.
The nether nest.
Okay, that's funny.
That's hilarious.
I only like
The-
it because it's kind of got a Minecraft reference in
the
it.
nether
Yeah.
nest.
Yeah.
The boys' bunk.
Nice.
It's okay.
The boys' bunk just sounds like the gay stuff they do at fucking like boot camp. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like everybody, by the way, everybody in the military is gay, just so you know. Go on.
Yeah.
Please clip that. Please clip just that and put that everywhere.
okay,
What I just said.
I think this one's
Everyone
really
in the
good.
military is gay.
Got it.
Scrotum swing.
Nah.
But we're not swinging them. We're actually
But-
giving them
You
praise
could.
for cure.
You
I
could.
will say you could
could.
put a fun design on it though, and I would call it the scrotum totem. That would be fun.
Could.
Scrotum totem's good.
A cargo cradle?
Nah.
Why not?
I don't think you've beaten Testy
I'm not trying to
Bestie
beat
yet.
it. I'm
I
just
kinda
getting
like
us
the nether-
options.
The nether nest.
The nether nest
really
is
cool.
Nether
actually
Nest
really cute.
was like, because you can't probably actually put testes on your product
Okay,
name,
okay,
I probably
okay.
would go with Nether Nest.
The ball swinger.
No, because that's the opposite of what
funny.
we're doing.
I
We're
think
saying
That
we
sounds
don't
like you're
want them
taking
swinging.
balls and going like,
The package perch.
ooh,
Package perches are not
package
bad.
That's pretty good.
perch.
The nut nook.
The nut nook?
This is pretty funny, guys.
This is great. Everyone comment
I'll
down
leave
below
it there.
Your favorite name.
Yeah.
Well, that's the show. Good night, everybody. I got
20
nothing. We can't top it.
Now we get to talk about the news, which is kind of like talking about balls some more. So let's
Yeah.
do it.
Now we get to transition to a break. When we return, we'll be talking about the news. This episode is brought to you by the banana hammock, which is sort of the obvious one. I mean,
But it's not for the banana. It's for
Right. The plantains,
You're right.
no
Coconuts.
the
the
acorns.
coconuts, the acorn, depending on.
If you have coconuts or acorns,
Go to
you're
the
probably
doctor.
not a very happy guy.
Go to the doctor.
Plums? Maybe plums is a little closer in size, but not
Apricots?
necessarily shape. They're honestly the
Apricots?
exact size and shape, I think, for most people, of an uncracked pecan, like the shell. Yeah, that's but. Okay, we'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by the amazing people on patreon.com/calltheline, where you can get the show ad-free and you get the extended episodes where we do bonus shows, which is most of the time. Head over to patreon.com/calltheline and sign up today. Would you like to be one of the cool people who can prove...
Welcome back. I meant to, while we were at break, come up with another good name for the balls thing, but I didn't. And then I
think
just dropped a keyboard. Yeah, go
We
ahead.
have, we have good options. Okay, the options that we have right now: the nether nest, the testy bestie, the scrotum totem,
Yeah.
or the package perch.
I gotta tell you, I think I'm partial to scrotum totem, mostly because it came out of my mouth and not promises.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine.
What's your deal? What's your deal?
Mm-hmm.
You hate women? What's that about?
First of all, I hate AI when shared by women. That's the
That
the
wasn't
women
better.
the woman thing is a
Was
big
only
part of it. Let's
partially
be honest.
true,
It's
yeah.
like a part of
That's
it, but it was. I don't want the AI to get credit for the idea. And then I'm not really as worried about Promise getting credit because I'm the man here, so I'd get credit
sure.
if
Fair
for
enough.
whatever she comes up with here anyway.
Fair enough.
It's
Don't
sort of like,
interrupt me though, because then that's where we draw the
That's
line.
where it's bad.
you know those employment agreements where it's like anything you invent while you are, I'm trying to remember what that category is called, but like Sears, I remember had it when I was like, wait, what? If I invent something at home while working for Sears, Sears has rights to it?
That's
That was like in my
crazy.
employ. Yeah, and I was selling fucking dishwashers. Like that's what I was at 21. I was selling dishwashers, and there was an agreement in there that like if I invent something while working for them, they get like they own it or some shit.
evil.
I'm trying to remember what that word is called. There's a word for it, but anyway, the nice thing is I do this podcast with these two wonderful women, and that's just implied that I get credit for anything they do
Sure,
because
sure.
as the male face of the show, there's a reason why I'm the center of the logo. That's probably going to end up having to get updated with more people and stuff in the future. But we're bringing in more people. We're adding some more people.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Right there.
I don't care. Oh no, you guys are going to find out the show's going to always kind of be this. But we're bringing in some more people. We're going to diversify it up, and then we're going to start adding some more call-in shows to not only The Line, but also on my channel, Jimmy Snow, which has been sort of dormant for a while. And
I'll
probably
have
needs-
nothing to do with that.
You literally
You'll-
yesterday
'cause
said
you'll
you
interrupt-
would.
I know. I was gonna make a joke about us interrupting each other, but
Oh, that would be really funny of like, we could have a bit on that where we always interrupt each other.
where we just try to interrupt each
introducing-
other and say the same thing that each other's saying, and while we're introducing each other, we just interrupt each other.
Yeah, something like that. I feel like you kind of ruined the joke because mine was going to be more of a scalpel, but you're a woman. Humor, not their strong suits. Humor is stored in the balls.
This is gonna be all up in your snark. This whole
Yeah.
episode.
I give a shit. Fucking Christ. You guys, you've tried to end me and failed, and that's what I hate them the most for.
That they
Who's
failed.
them?
The snarks, the Reddits.
The Reddit people that I don't know how to
the
even go
Haiti
see.
peoples, the comment sections, the people, it's like, look,
The people.
I was mad at you for trying to destroy me, and now I'm mad at you for failing. It was going to be so peaceful on the other
That's
side.
such a nice quote.
That's so real.
That's really good. I want a shirt that says that.
Okay.
Right now, probably not later when I think about it again, but in the moment, it was a good idea.
Trivia, you ready?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
All right, somebody has just been indicted for lewd acts with children. Now, was that person A, a Christian, B, a Republican, or C, let's say a person who dresses up cross-gender and reads books to kids? And you can pick up to 2 answers.
I know this answer because I know all about this, and I've been waiting for this to come out. So
The answer is it wasn't a drag queen.
yeah,
Because it never is.
It never is. It never is.
But you know what it often is? I've got a
pastor.
direct line to Jesus. And I'm here to tell you. Robert Morris, the founder of the Gateway Church in Texas, which is one of the mega churches in my state, which you do hear about plenty. This guy's face, I'm sure that people would recognize. And if we had a higher production quality here, we might even put it on the screen right now, but we don't. So we're not gonna, and it's an audio format. It's a podcast. You're listening anyway.
Yeah,
By the
don't
way,
be greedy.
more people watch the video version of this than listen, just so everybody here knows. So that's not terribly surprising since we're YouTubers first, but
Right.
at the moment, it is a lot more people on YouTube and Spotify, which we also put the video on, than the other things. Anyway, Robert Morris, he has been indicted by a grand jury, which, keep in mind, that's kind of the highest form of an indictment, where even though the trial hasn't happened here, that means a pretty big group of people got together and was like, yeah, the evidence is overwhelming. He's guilty. Let's throw down that indictment. Grand jury indictments are a little bit different than just like the arbitrary bullshit cops do to minorities. I thought I would try and make that sentence happier by putting a fun little voice on it.
Scary.
Yay, the fascists hate minorities.
Anyway, I'm abusing that. I'm abusing that button.
I love that.
That's not the part to clip in isolation. The thing I said earlier, clip that in isolation. Everybody in the military is gay, and they are. Maybe not the minorities thing. Indicted by a grand jury in Texas, stems from allegations of misconduct involving children. The Gateway Church expressing a statement of shock and concern and emphasizing their commitment to protecting children and cooperating with authorities. So his church isn't saying we will cooperate but we maintain that our guy is innocent. And they're like, bro, what shit? So yeah,
we didn't see this coming.
yeah,
They never do.
Indictment sent shockwaves through the community, with many members expressing disbelief and sadness. The church has been a prominent institution in the air. I wonder if he's going to take the Trump tactic and just be like, no, I didn't do it. All that evidence that shows that I did it, planted by the deep state. You know who actually did do it? Joe Biden.
Oh my God.
Joe Biden, those specific kids even abused by Joe Biden.
Thought he already kind of. I don't think he's gonna take that tactic at all. I think he already kind of like admitted to being like guilty or having some inappropriate behavior or something. But maybe
I just want to know how long until he gets he's considered redeemed by God and he's put back
Placed
in some
somewhere
other
else.
because that's what they do, which is disgusting.
Well, he's the founder of the church. This would be kind of like if the Pope did it. Like, you can't shuffle the Pope around.
Yeah, but except for we're talking evangelical Christianity, where I've watched this happen. I mean, we watched Mark Driscoll have that happen. We're now watching Mike Bickle out of IHOP, who has significantly more allegations, I believe, against him for a longer period of time.
Did you say out of IHOP?
International House of Prayer, if you haven't heard of it.
Wow.
So I've watched my whole life these men get caught for these things, and then they go away for a little bit, and they get reinstated somewhere else, not quite ever on like such a large level, although sometimes even larger, and they've been redeemed, and they've done all the things and all this stuff, and it's almost like they get more successful then. Hopefully that won't happen here, but I don't know. Maybe he'll actually go to jail. That would be cool.
Wouldn't it?
I was just looking up what Ted Haggard's up to today.
I was just thinking of him.
Can't seem to find it.
Didn't. I mean, when your last name is Haggard, like things are already not going to go well for you, I feel like. And then when you have like the kinds of things that you Google come up, it's just that's already working against you.
He has a small now congregation, home-based. Well, that's a pretty far fall though.
It doesn't matter. The fact that he's still attempting to do anything, that anybody is participating at all, says
also,
a lot.
like, it was with young boys, and apparently the microchurch model includes services and youth activities held in his home.
See what I'm saying? There is no low these people will not stoop to. That's worse. That's actually worse.
So much worse. I can't even. And the parents of those boys should be reported to CPS.
It's weird how like you can be associated with. It's funny. So he's apparently a Free Methodist pastor. I have to get all of my canons in a row because Methodistism. I don't know how you would even say it.
Probably not like that.
Oh yeah, you're gonna tell me?
Yeah.
You
riboflavin or riboflavin. It's all the same.
My wife was made out. Adam's wife was made out of his riboflavin.
Nice.
That's what I think of. Anyway, he. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, Methodists. He was part of like the young Earth creationist. He argued with Dawkins back in the day, anti-evolution and stuff. But then I know like there are Methodists also who have like women preachers that are like fully into the science stuff.
You have to understand
it's
that
weird
anytime
how, like, those terms don't,
because they don't mean like anytime you're on the evangelical side of things, you just have all this wiggle room. So like if you don't align with this stuff, then you just kind of get pushed over here and you make your own new little group. Like that's why there's such a multi-headed monster, is because there's no accountability. Like you can just morph into the next thing that you want to be.
I guess I grew up as a Mormon, which the one thing you can say for them is if you go to a church in Florida versus you go to a church in Alaska or Utah, or
it's the same shit.
There's going to be some local culture stuff like where they take it more serious here versus there, but fundamentally it's going to be the same thing. But you know, obviously you could say like, well, what about the other sects of Mormonisms like the FLDS and stuff? And yeah, they have some differences. There's a lot more core that's the same, but they definitely have more differences. But I always liked the joke, what's the difference between a Northern Baptist and a Southern Baptist? The Northern Baptists are going to hell because Southern Baptists are like, they think everybody are going to hell. Yeah. I always like that one. I thought it's amusing. That's a little...
That's why I laughed so hard.
I only said it was amusing.
It is good, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
I grew up in the South.
We're a bad audience sometimes.
I grew up in the South where literally like Southern Baptist teachers were shitty to me at school. I had a teacher who wouldn't let me speak in class because I was Mormon. Because she didn't want me dragging she didn't want me, her something along the lines of like, my very words could put the other kids in danger of going to hell.
I'd take that as a massive compliment.
I was Mormon. So at the time I took it as look at it. This is the proof of our oppression. Right. We Mormons are so oppressed. Anyway, the hell part was wrong, but you know, I was a conniving little kid who was always trying to convert all my classmates. And she would have preferred I try to convert them to
her cult.
Going to hellism. Yeah,
right.
Southern
Going to
Baptism.
hellism.
Yep. Them Southern Baptists, they're dicks. Anyway, that's a good place to end, actually. Those Southern Baptists are dicks. I wish that had been the last line of the episode. It's not.
You could cut it.
Nah. That sounds like work. Oh, could I promise? Please tell me, what would the process of editing
I could
that
interrupt
be like?
you, and then we could just leave it there.
If somebody wants to remember it at the end when we're leaving, make it the final note of the show.
Can't you just go cut things out and then like put it back on the end of it?
How does that work?
I don't know, because
Tell
I
me
don't
the
know
process.
how to do shit.
All right, step one, what?
You click a little scissor button probably somewhere.
Scissor button.
Tell me more about scissoring.
This
Promise.
is why Jimmy doesn't ask me to do anything with editing.
One of my favorite things about you is that you have an internet job and don't know how to use your computer.
Yep.
Jimmy the other day told me something. He said something to me about how I was trying to like offer help about technology things. I don't even know what to call them.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're just now enjoying your first iPad," which my mom did 10 years ago.
Yeah,
so
my mom's had an iPad for 10 years.
Which is so true. Literally, that same day, my husband goes, "Oh, you really are loving that iPad, aren't you?" Because I just like carry it around. I'm like, I never had an iPad before.
it.
I'm an iPad kid now.
You're an
What's
iPad
happening?
kid.
I took a picture with it yesterday. He was like, "Oh, wow, boomer."
I love that he's like, boomer alert.
Yeah, and he's closer to boomer than I am by a
Oh,
lot.
I love
so.
it. I just love it.
By a lot. The way you said by a lot, you just threw so much shade.
That's all I do. I say hashtag old to him all the time. So
Promise is dating Joe Biden.
essentially,
Oh my god.
one would easily think
She's
that's-
serious, not a joke. Why is it always pastors? Why is it never drag queens? Why is it always pastors?
It's almost like
There was
they're prone to predatory behavior.
There's a study that they did on priests and like their interactions with minors, but basically like they can't really determine if it's like a chicken or egg situation. It's like, are people who are attracted to, like, it's possible that people who are attracted to minors will join something like a church to help like what's it called, like quiet those urges, help try and like
Suppress them.
That's the word. But there is like a very strong correlation between people who are working in the clergy and ones who want to touch children, but they just don't know which one came first.
Yeah, I feel like some of that chicken or the egg gets a little bit informed when you look at churches, though, that have a different sort of setup for how people become clergy. Because the Mormon Church had a big issue when it came out, the inappropriate things bishops were talking to children about in these bishops' interviews, and the way that they were appearing to get horny as they're doing their worthiness in interviews, and obviously some things that are worse. And Mormonism, like, if putting a person in that position didn't make them more prone to be abusive, you would expect it to not have that much of a surge in a place like Mormonism, where it would just be like, because you don't become a bishop in Mormonism. You are called to be a bishop. So usually it's like, oh, this person who has the time and clearly the cult-like devotion, and usually is perceived as like financially stable, even though that's definitely not the case from some personal experiences.
I'm going to guess women are not.
Women are.
Got it.
Be quiet. I do not permit you to speak in church. The fuck's wrong with you? No. Women don't get the priesthood, so you can't have any like significant calling. You can basically teach other women. Even like the prophet's wife wouldn't be able to call me to repentance. Like that's you in the temple when you get married, you literally, part of the ceremony is submitting to your husband and basically acknowledging that anytime a spiritual matter comes up, if the two of you go to God and you both think God has inspired you with an answer, his answer would, if they're in conflict, you default to the man's, because he actually has the right to ask God on behalf of the family, whereas the woman only has the right to ask God on behalf of herself.
That's basically similar to what I was taught growing up, actually. Although my mom was a pastor, so it's like,
There's fundamentalist precedent for all the dumb shit Mormonism does. Yeah. It's like, it's all dumb, recycled shit.
It's like, almost like it's all bullshit.
Yeah. Everybody in the military is gay.
Oh my god.
I like saying it.
I know.
Hey, by the way, if you're right now sitting there and you're like, I'm in the military, I'm not gay. You're gay. You are gay. I know what happens in those boot camps. You're gay. Gay. Anyway, I guess we'll move on from that. I thought Promise would have like a big long thing she'd want to go off on about it, but she doesn't. So
that's
going to make a great clip.
Thought I was going to say something. Why am I the one that came to mind about this?
I put this in for you. You're the evangelical authority here.
about gayness in the military?
No, the pastor guy.
Oh, the pastor guy.
Yeah,
I thought you
yeah.
wanted me to comment about the military and all, which
Yeah.
my ex-husband is, but then I feel like I'm a little biased, so I'm just gonna not say anything. But
Your ex-husband's gay?
again, I'm not gonna say anything. No,
I'll say it.
I don't. Yeah, I have nothing more to say about Robert Morris except for I'm really, really glad that he got caught, and I hope that he's actually held accountable. Do I think that will happen to the extent that it's supposed to? Probably not. Do I think that Christians will just glance at this and just ignore it like they always do? Absolutely. I don't know. It's disturbing how this just keeps happening, and we treat it every time like an isolated event. Instead of it's always a bad egg instead of looking at a systemic issue, which I'm working on some of that off. Like that's one of the projects that I have going on right now that I can't wait to get more into. But it's something I care a lot about, and I think it needs to be addressed, and I'm working on addressing it. So watch yourselves if you're doing dumb shit and you're a pastor.
She's saying she's saving the good content for a show that matters.
No, I'm saving it for this show when I can say something.
Okay. Hell yeah. I people like him and crimes like this always challenge my humanistic notions of like, rehabilitation and being anti-death penalty. Cause like, I know those are my values, and that like there should be a path for almost everybody to like, to some sort of peace and life in the future after some amount of time of retribution on behalf of their victims, but also like rehabilitation, reconciliation, that kind of stuff, and working toward all of that. But whenever it's like sexual abuse toward children, I'm like, fucking throw them in a pit, let them eat each other.
Absolutely. And
just
any form of rehabilitation should never, ever, ever look like you being put in a position of leadership or a position to be like influencing any person ever. Yeah. But that's what the church loves to do.
Yeah,
over
you don't get your old shit
again.
back. Like,
right.
Oh, I'm going to do the steps to get back to being a rich mega pastor. Fuck you.
Sure.
You don't get power over anybody again. You've betrayed the trust that this could ever be. No one's going to let you babysit ever again.
Except they do. And that's what's so disturbing and crazy about it. Like, oh, you don't believe in a God? Well, you're going to burn forever in hell. You're going to touch kids? Well, we might let you be a pastor again. We'll see if you apologize just the right way. It's wild. Priorities are fucked.
I'm just like, it's, I don't believe in a government death penalty. But if somebody took care of this, I would just be like, aw. Anyway. Aw.
Well, I like in my schooling, we learned a little bit about people who are attracted to minors, and like we were trained in like not really holding a bias for that either. But it's just like when it's systemic like this, I just don't know what to say.
Well, it's
like,
when you act when you create victims. It's when you act it out.
Yeah.
It's when you do stuff to somebody else that harms them, and especially a child. That's where it's
when you act
and then
on
you combine that with a spiritual leadership role where you're literally using God against this person, because all of us don't believe in a God, but most of the time the people that these pastors are interacting with do, and so they take these pastors as their connecting point. So then it's just like quadruple the trauma that's happening here. It's really disturbing.
I mean, clearly it has something to do with, maybe this will be some of the more controversial part, and so cancellation may be incoming, but clearly it has to do with the obsessive nature of the religions too over sexuality. I think Hitchens years ago in a debate with the Catholics, with a couple of representatives from the Catholic Church, him and Stephen Fry versus these two, had this really great moment that I think would be canceled these days because you're not really allowed to say things like this. But he basically was like, there are two types of people who are obsessed with food, anorexics and the obese. And that's basically, now change it to from food to sex. Yeah. That amount of obsession means you are disordered in one direction or the other. Yeah. And so it is that level of like in your head constant. Luckily for me, all of the weird sexual oppression turned into kinks that I can fully enjoy with adults. But not everybody was so lucky. Not even from my
don't know
own
what
family.
that
Some of them are
voice was. Oh,
fucking
God.
awful people. But it's like, it is. You do notice that kind of stuff. Like, luckily for a lot of people, yeah, it does just turn into like authority kinks and things like that. But for others, the obsession gets deeper and deeper, and that which becomes taboo starts to feel necessary. And that's why you also see higher instances amongst religious people of not just like child abuse, but like incest and shit like that. I don't know why I said it so weird.
I was gonna say, I
Incest.
was like,
Incest. Incest.
Yeah.
I think I was going to say incestuous relationships, and then I went with, but whatever. Anyway, like you see.
Keep saying that word over and over again. That's good.
Yeah. And look, for these people who are like, and we're the ones with morals, the prisons have no shortage of religious rapists. Like, the fuck is wrong with you? You guys are the people who also will make claims like there's no such thing as rape in marriage. Like, what would you call it then if a woman is being violently forced to have sex with a person, even if she married him? What do you call that now? Like, these fucking people are redacted. I don't have a better word, so I have to retreat to my new filler slurs.
I don't know why, but it just reminds me of like Zynga MySpace days where we all just said like really, I don't know. It feels very
Crazy
millennial
things.
of you, which is why I think it's funny and I like it. But
Do you remember Jeezum? Jeezum.
Yeah.
Instead of Jesus, people would say Jeezum.
yep. Do you remember
Yeah.
Shui?
What is shui?
Shui.
Shui. Maybe this is a very niche thing. I'm waiting for people in the comments to.
Are
back me
you
on it, but I
10
remember
years
that being
older
a
than
thing.
me? Because you're not. Shui is like, I
One
remember
year
it from
younger
movies
than you.
from the generation prior.
I was hanging out with older people because I was very mature for my age. I don't know about you.
Mm.
Maybe you were hanging out with younger people. I don't know.
Just so you know, a girl saying I was very mature for my age.
It just means
feel
I have
like
trauma
always
because I was
means
the
like,
eldest child.
Right. I like,
Yes.
please tell me how you got married young to an abusive man without telling me you got married young to an abusive man.
It's called being the oldest of four. And yeah, I did not have a childhood. That was how that happened. But I, know
feel
what
like a
shui
lot of
means,
people
and
say
you don't.
I was very mature for my age, and what they mean was I was very susceptible to abusive adults for my age.
Yeah.
Which is not a criticism. I'm
True.
saying maybe you need to work through some of this.
It sounds like you were really embarrassed about the fact that you've never heard the term shui, but
Shui. That's
we
actually
can
it.
go with
What
that.
is
Yeah.
what is that?
Shui. No, I've heard it. It was
See?
like cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was like from movies
Shui.
that were older than us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was watching them, so
Yeah.
I do distinctly remember my older cousin telling me about that word, so that's probably why.
How did I not get married? Because I'm realizing like I so am susceptible to abusive adults, but I think it's because I was trying to gear up. The pathway of my life was that I would be an abusive man who would marry a younger girl. And so that got broken around the time period where that would have started developing. So I guess that's the only reason why I broke out of it. If I had come out as queer before all of that, though, I totally would have been primed to like be picked up by an older
Well,
man.
and
who's psyched.
I think it's different when you're a girl because you're taught that you need to like, if you want to move out and be independent and make your own choices in life, you don't actually get to do any of that unless there's a man signing off on all of it.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, if I wanted to move out, if I wanted to start my life, if I wanted to do my own thing and not have other people telling me what to do, then I had to be married.
Yeah,
Like, there
we
was
need
no
to transfer
you
the
either-
ownership from your father to
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I wanted to do that, then I needed it. I was like, well, fine, I'll go try out being owned by somebody else. Turns out that was even worse. So
I'm having a better time getting canceled and talking about whatever we want than usual. So let's come back after the break and we'll talk about the three
the actual news.
remaining news stories. And we'll probably go kind of quick because honestly, fucking tired of Musk. I'm fucking tired of Trump. But Pokemon Go got bought by Saudi Arabia. So there's that really affects.
Would you like to be one of the cool people who can prove they were supporting this podcast right from the beginning? Well, you can. Head over to linemerch.com. That's linemerch.com and pick up some founders merch for The Line as a podcast that will only be available for a short time and features the rough draft drawn logo that soon will be updated to look less like it was drawn by a 3-year-old. That's linemerch.com.
We're cutting back in because during the break we started to have an argument.
As we do. Jimmy interrupted me too many times.
Shut up. Promise. You be quiet. Promise brought up a comment from the past where somebody had described me as having little brother vibes to her, despite the fact that I am older than her. And Alyssa believes that that is fair because
you tell like poop jokes, and sometimes you are trying to annoy us, literally for the purpose of annoying us.
oh my God, that just, oh, how dare I just do literally like, you're describing me sound, okay, I'm just going to say it.
Alyssa, you do have a little brother,
so you're saying I'm kind of like a woman?
I have a little sister and an older brother.
Oh, an older brother. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Can we appreciate though that like people do try to annoy other people sometimes just for funsies,
Yeah.
and that is so a
never.
girl thing to do.
I
So if
would
anything, I
never.
am tapping into my femininity when I decide like I'm just
feels
gonna annoy you real
sexist.
quick.
So yeah,
This
It
feels-
is sexist, but it's true sexism.
So if that's true, are you giving little sister vibes?
Do you know what? It's really funny because
good point.
I am anti-negging once I like learned how manipulative it was. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's so funny how often girls bring up negging and are like, oh my God, and this guy just negs. And then I had somebody like truly describe to me what negging was. And I was like, every girl I have ever met literally flirts via negging. They're going totally quiet here, like they're in denial, but let's be real.
Wait.
They know they're the problem. I get negged by these two daily.
Well,
I don't
Do you know what negging
who
is?
you're talking about. No, I have no idea. So that's why
Okay,
I look
what
like
do you,
this right now.
Alyssa, how would you describe negging?
isn't it like you're basically like baiting someone? It's almost like it feels like it kind of feels like a blend, and like maybe I'm not thinking of the right thing, but it feels like a blend of rage baiting and also the thing of like when you're a kid and someone's like, oh, they were mean to you because they like you.
Okay, let me ask you this, Alyssa. Have you ever, while flirting with somebody, been a little mean to them as a method to humble them? Like a man where you're like, oh, this man needs humbling. I'm just going to like,
I do
I'm gonna
that
give him a little bit of a
to
humble.
every man I ever come across.
That is literally negging. That is what negging by definition is. Negging is flirtatious insults for the meat, because you are trying to basically bring their self-esteem down to a point to where you can more easily control or manipulate them.
Yeah,
And
that's what I said. Also,
I so
that's
badly want to
literally-
range at every woman who's like, men are evil because they neg. I'm like, you guys are mad because men started doing your playbook.
No.
Men do
We started
terrible
doing-
stuff.
No.
You invented negging.
No, they invented negging.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you
No,
why.
we did not.
I'll
Alyssa
tell you
has
why.
the floor.
I'll tell you why.
Go, Alyssa.
Because we spent our entire childhood with boys being mean to us, and then adults around us saying, he just likes you.
He just likes you.
just-
That's what you do.
He
That's
just
what you
has a
do when
crush on
somebody
you.
likes you.
But that's not-
Exactly.
That's
And then we
just
took it
being
back.
mean. Negging isn't just being mean. Being mean is just being. I'm just saying the like purposeful, like I'm gonna humble this person by doing it. It is gross and it is manipulative, and it was invented by women.
And I'm gonna keep doing it.
See,
I've
You,
never,
like,
I've
if
never
I
met
were
a
to
man who
defend
doesn't need to
doing
be
it-
humbled even a little bit.
If
And
I were to
and they
defend
should
doing
be
it-
so lucky that I'm doing it in the context of flirting.
the whole idea, the reason why I think it is worse for men to do it than women is because we already have more societal power. And so for us to be like, hey, here we are with the power dynamic where I have more power than you do, and now I'm going to push you down further. Clearly that makes it worse. I just think it's funny when people like sort of all out will be like, oh, this flirty thing was kind of backhanded, therefore it was negging, therefore that person is abusive. And I'm like, bro, everybody's negging everybody out here.
Yeah.
That is crazy that you think this is. It's kind of like when people, I remember during one of the times people tried to cancel me and they were like talking shit about a relationship I had.
The times.
One of the times. Yeah. And they were just describing like a regular flirt, like me just being sweet to somebody. And they're like, yeah, but that's called love bombing.
Oh, for the love of God.
That's love bombing. They said you looked really cute. That's called love bombing. It's actually abuse. And you're like,
problem is, I will-
holy fucking shit.
I will flirt with a rock. Like I don't
Yeah.
go to Publix without flirting with
Yeah.
every single person I interact with. I
But
think
she's
it's
so mean to
fun.
the
That's,
Rock
like, what
when
we
she
do.
flirts. She's like, wow, Rock, you're so brave wearing that stone out. I'm going to make
so
your
brave.
new nickname is Rocky. Rocky Dennis.
I don't even
How's
get that
Rocky
joke.
The guy,
Dennis?
the fucked up
What
dude
are
from
you
The Mask.
talking about?
The Mask.
The
The
movie?
Mask.
It's like a
What?
super famous movie. Hang
Jim
on.
Carrey?
I was homeschooled.
Jim. Wait, that's the only mask. That
Yeah,
I know.
I
The
never
Jim
even
Carrey
saw
one.
that movie.
The what was the name of the movie? Rocky Dennis.
You just said it. It's called The Mask.
I thought it was called The Mask.
Okay, well,
So it was,
Yeah, no, it's literally called The Mask. Okay. And I don't remember which actor, and it's based on a true story.
I think you're
but
making
the guy,
all of this up so far.
the guy's got like, okay, well, this is Rocky Dennis.
I can't even see what
He's got
you're
like
showing me.
just Google it.
I think
then.
that's
Rocky
AI.
Dennis.
what
The
were
Mask.
we talking about? Why were we talking about Rocky Dennis?
Because she was negging the
Who
guy,
is she?
The Rock. I was saying Thomas was negging a rock by saying your nickname is Rocky.
Alyssa,
Rocky Dennis.
are we tag team negging right now?
We literally
They neg me so bad.
lost the plot of this whole
This whole
hour
episode.
so hard.
This is my new
I-
favorite. The Line
But
Has a
this is-
Podcast.
I like
Me
I
too.
like I
Let's
like when I
never
have
talk
to
about the
say
news.
things that if you just isolate it out, people are gonna get so mad about it. But I'm literally like, okay, guys, listen, I am fine with saying men shouldn't neg, but I need us to acknowledge that everybody negs. Everyone negs.
Yeah,
See, they
but
go
men-
quiet.
but-
They go quiet. when they're
because
like,
here's
I
the
want him to
problem.
get canceled
Because
in
here's the
isolation.
problem.
No, if it's wrong, no one should do it. I don't do it with my current
It's
partner. I
right.
mean, we tease each
It's
other.
correct. Women can do it anytime they want,
But no.
and men cannot.
Because it's literally a method of you're like going after a person's self-esteem.
That's why women should do it and men shouldn't.
I think
Just
that
kidding. I'm kidding.
you should have a badge.
I'm kidding. I feel
You should have a
bad
badge
about
that
being
represents
rude
how
to...
swiped you are on Tinder. And if you are one of the men
Swiped?
who are like the top 2%,
Then you can
you
neg
get to
them.
get negged like crazy.
Well, I've never
Like
been on Tinder, so
or whatever. There's going to be an app running with everybody's faces on it, so we just always know each other's rankings all the time.
are you talking about
and-
that Black Mirror episode?
Yeah, sure. And anybody who's truly the men who need humbled, get humbled. Neg Elon Musk, okay? I'm a very supportive of negging Elon Musk. Definitely neg him. He definitely acts like somebody who had a botched penile implant, which I want to make
I
sure
think
that we
if you're
restate.
susceptible to negging,
Which men are.
then
Because we're very fragile.
Yeah,
We're
then it's like,
we're such like whiny bitches all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny that
That's a you
like
problem.
women get accused of being the emotional ones because you have the emotions that make men uncomfortable, like sadness and empathy. Meanwhile, like
y'all
we will
can't
just
watch a basketball game without
Yeah,
being
Right.
okay.
punching a
we
hole
will
through the
melt
wall.
down over somebody wearing the jacket of a team we don't like.
Right.
For what? Like they're not gonna call. Hey, is this Tom Fredericks? Listen, we got a space on our team, and we need you, buddy. And we heard that you went to bat for us in a major way at that Fuddruckers, and so that spot's you. Like, what are you getting out of that type of loyal? I remember when I was a kid, I went to a school called. Let's just say it was called Central, and there was another school called East. And there was a kid who transferred in and would wear his East shirt to school, and a bunch of kids got together and beat him up for wearing why do you give a fuck? Why this sort of territorialism is nuts to me. And no surprises here. It was mostly dudes. There was a couple of girls like screaming, egging on because men will find no shortage of the pick-me's who will like support them for access to the club because guess what? We have made a terrible society where as a woman, you get a faster chance to get ahead if you're toxic as fuck. And there are those women who will, it's the greatest export of the patriarchy that we figured out how to make women perpetuate it for us and teach it to our sons.
Yeah.
So anyway, men are the root of evil, but I think it's really funny when women complain about negging because I'm like,
I just have never even heard that term. So are they actually complaining about it?
yes. Well,
Okay,
I mean, in
well.
the terribly toxic subreddits I follow with
See,
dating
that's
advice where everything's a red flag.
where it's probably all men anyways.
Oh, no. It's the opposite. It's
How do you know?
I
See?
know.
See?
I know.
I know, Jimmy.
I know.
Jimmy's like, I have a personal relationship with each of them.
No, but I will say as a person who used to have a channel that had a mostly female audience
Did you
can
really?
tell the difference between them. Yeah. The Jimmy Snow's channels, the analytics are still 80% women.
You're kidding.
Wow.
No. Dead ass.
I don't know why that is like wildly shocking to me.
Because Atheist Spaces usually didn't, but I created a channel in which I said to honestly, I helped people explore the toxicity that they wanted to maintain after religion. That's why I don't do that content anymore. Because if 40 episodes of shitting on Girl Defined is still doing well, at a certain point you have to wonder why. And it turned out that when you leave religion, I was participating. And by the way, this isn't me like as a man trying to womansplain this or mansplain it to people. This was an intervention with female creators who explained it to me, where it was like, when you leave religion as a woman, you have to break down certain things. And one of them is like trying to not just hate other women by default, because Christianity definitely teaches you to be in constant competition with women and to be constantly judgmental of them and to ingratiate yourself to men by hating the women that they want you to hate. And so a channel like yours, Jimmy Snow, basically comes along and is like, okay, what if I give you the opportunity to still do that thing that you're now toxically hooked on, but I just say it's okay because I'm telling you, Girl Defined are the women that are okay to hate. I'm basically like giving you the permission to. And so it's basically just become this like T channel essentially, but directed at, it gave you a sense of like, yeah, but these women deserve 40 episodes, or it's probably crazier than that. I think I did like a 10 to 12 episode series on Paul and Morgan just on the one thing they did with Jesse Lee Peterson. So yeah. So it's recognizable. You can tell differences in the ways that certain audiences interact, and an audience of toxic men, which we have plenty of at the line, sort of looks a different way than an audience of toxic women do. And I am in plenty of subreddits with both categories. And the everything's a red flag type of audience tends to be more women, because here's why I know it's women, because the red flags actually kind of make sense. If it was an audience of men, the red flags would be cellulite. Right? Like, I actually find the red flags that the women are saying somewhat believable and understandable, if not still being perpetuated in toxic communities with bad standards that want to remove nuance, sure. But at least their conversations actually have substance to them, and the men are just, the male ones, like one I literally just saw yesterday was, wow, Serena looks like she's had 5 kids. Like, that's the extent of their toxic communities. They're just so much more shallow in their toxicity.
Yuck.
I loved the video I saw, though, that a person made on, they basically went to Twitter to where these men were all talking shit about Serena at a concert. And it was like showing her like from 5 years ago versus now, the body difference.
Wait, Serena who? How did I miss that?
Selena Gomez? Selena
Selena
Gomez.
I was like, Serena Williams. I was like, why was she at a concert?
No.
Okay.
Serena Williams, by the way, at Drake's thing,
Amazing.
I don't know what they were complaining about. She looked...
Kendrick?
Incredible.
Kendrick's thing. She looked
amazing.
So hot at the Super Bowl.
Amazing.
She's been looking amazing always forever. So
yeah, she's not somebody I ever followed that much of, but I saw like that dancing, and then I saw people talking about it. I was like, oh, I'm not usually even into like muscly, but I was like, damn.
She's always, every time I've ever seen her, she is
stunning.
She's not the sister who became a Jehovah's Witness, though, is she?
I don't know. Actually, I think she is. I actually do think she is,
Bummer.
which is interesting based on what she was wearing. But
Right.
And
but
a
good
lot
for
of
her.
other things.
Yeah.
Anyway, the video was these men basically
Selena
being
Gomez.
like,
Selena Gomez, who has like several different health issues, and her body has changed a lot as a result of her health issues. Like,
and is still hot.
Leave her the fuck alone. Like, right.
She just doesn't look 12 anymore. Like, she looks like an adult
woman.
now is the difference.
A grown woman.
Yeah. If anything, I'm like sitting and I'm like, I don't even understand. Clearly society has to get in the way and interfere with what your standards are. And clearly we have, because if anything, I would make the argument that if you were going to go with like what we've evolved to be attracted to, Selena now looks like she wouldn't die giving birth.
Right.
Whereas what you're comparing her beauty standard to looks like would break her hips open, like would kill her if she had a, like, she's very much more attractive in my opinion now. But anyway, it's just funny because there was a lot of people like trying to fat shame her for not being fat, just not being
as skinny as she was when she was 14.
Right.
You can't win
No.
Like, you
But-
never can win. It doesn't matter how you look. You can't win. I can't think of a single woman that doesn't get these kinds of comments made about them.
Yeah.
The video was devastating, I feel, for these men because it would show their comment and then it would show their photo.
Oh, that's the best. Those are my
And it was
favorite
like-
videos. I want to make one of
That's
those
my
so bad,
favorite.
but I can't do it because I feel bad, but I want
You're-
to.
Don't
You
feel
can't
bad.
be
It's
as
the
mean
consequence
back.
of their own actions, and also they're commenting from a public profile, so whatever.
Yeah.
They're never hot. They are never hot.
And if
Ever.
I think it's also more acceptable if they're making comments about you physically, and all
That's
you're
what I-
doing is showing what they like. If there are people who are commenting on your content and they're saying stuff about how, like, I don't know, you're Satan, regular run of the mill stuff.
Yeah.
That's different. But if they're commenting talking about your looks, and
No,
all
that's
you
what
have
they
to
do.
is show what they look like and like literally nothing else.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
That's my favorite. So what I do say, anytime a man makes a comment about how I look in a negative way, first of all, like I said, they're never ever hot, and I can always go check and see, like, wow. And I just leave a comment back that says, do you really want to bring looks into this? Because we can do that if you want. And then they don't usually say anything
love
back.
it.
So
I
just
just
love it.
think if you're gonna make fat jokes about women, you better look like you work out. I mean, you shouldn't realistically do it at all. But I think it is very ironic and funny that, like, what is I in fact, when I was watching it, I was thinking of y'all's clip with that guy. Okay, wait. Let me just do this. Here was the news. There's a bunch of people turning on Trump. The business leaders, there's a bunch of business leaders that are like totally turning on him because of his stupid tariff shit. RFK Jr. basically said everybody should just get measles, that might actually be better because that has a longer term immunization. And Pokemon Go bought by a company from Saudi Arabia, which means they probably have all of your location data, and as well, they are part of one of those groups that like very aggressively monetizes. So the app is probably ruined. Okay, back to that was the
and
news.
that's the news.
And that's
That was
the
the rest of
news.
this. I was thinking of the clip that y'all did with the guy who was like, and if you're like a good girl,
I'll never forget
then
his
you'll
name.
get me. You get to have like
I was
us.
watching that clip literally today.
Me
Did we post that call today?
it just went viral again. Alyssa, I love Alyssa. Alyssa goes, "Sell me the dream. Sell me Gilberto."
And he's like, well, because I'm the man. And it just says, I'm the man over and over
But
again.
what are you getting out of
What the fuck
that?
are you talking about? What does
Right.
that even mean?
And look, I aspire to a world where, because it's another one of those things where it's like the conversation with negging that I'm positive people are going to be mad at me about, and the comments are coming. And I'm just sitting here going like, of course I acknowledge the men's side of this is worse. We have the power in society, but it's a toxicity that's rampant through everybody, and we have to solve it. Now, addressing the toxicity in men is actually going to be a much quicker solve than trying to be like, so girls, stop negging and maybe we'll follow your lead. Like that would ever fucking work. But it's kind of like, it's kind of that scenario where I'm like, look, I get it. I get like how easy it is to turn men against women when they see something like that. And they think like, oh, well, why is the girl so great? What is she selling me on? Because it sounds like they're just saying like, because we're the girls and we're pretty and you want access to our body, whatever. But, I'm working hard. And it's so like, it's actually super easy to make guys feel that way because that's going to be the initial reaction of most guys where it's like, why do I have to sell myself to you, but you don't have to sell yourself to me? But the reality is like that conversation puts such a different spin on it because it is so telling of, it's not just a matter of like the guy coming and going like, well, why do I have to sell myself? It's a matter of he doesn't think he should have to sell himself, and he has such high expectations of you, your body, what you're going to do for him. So he wants to be able to just come and say like, well, I'll give you the what? Physical safety? Brother, you're in America.
kept
No
saying
thing you
that.
can do can beat a gun.
Right. Protection. He said, I'll offer you protection.
Also, it's
From
all
what?
from other fucking dudes. Like,
Right. From
Probably
what?
not himself even.
And also,
Like,
yeah, like, and
Right.
also, like, if we are in a living situation where I constantly need to be protected from other people, like, guess what? I'm calling the police and or moving. I don't need to be protected like that.
Well, and look, I have no problem with a person being like, a value that I can bring to a relationship is a role of a protector. if that truly is like a value, but the idea that you're going to leverage that is so important and you will be like useless without it.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably a protector as far as a male goes. And I think an actual high value male does have types of protection in them. But this idea of like, well, you need it.
Male.
What?
I feel so triggered every time I hear it.
By the phrase.
Yeah.
I love the
hate
phrase.
it.
I just hate I just hate where we have said. I love it actually. I think
I
it
just
needs to
don't
just be
believe
stolen.
in high
I think we need
value
to take
or
it. Oh.
low value
Yeah.
people.
I don't
like
think
I
that's-
hate
of course
that
you do.
so much.
Of course
I
you
agree.
do.
No, because here's the
As
thing.
a high value person.
No, I just think I think there's no way you don't. Like we're always evaluating what words you're going to put on it, but there's a reason you picked Yucca and not somebody else,
Personal,
right? Like
personal, yeah.
right. Okay,
Personal
perfect.
Okay, but that's not.
Gilberto-
But
there's
I
a
don't
difference
think one
between-
is more valuable than the other.
Yes, you
although,
do. Yes, you do.
Well, to
Of course
me,
you do.
obviously, to me, I do.
Exactly,
But also,
that's
it depends
fine.
on to like
But
what
yeah,
cause.
like, value is so subjective.
Sure.
Like,
Because
Gilberto will
if
be
your
high
cause
value to
is
some
king
other
of the
people, too.
incels, then he's much higher value than Yucca's going to be to them.
So let's
True.
take the word value out and throw in the word moral. What I think is moral is different than what a Christian thinks is moral.
Let's
so
say that.
I'm
I'm less
defending what
triggered by
my
that
source of
phrase.
morality is, what should define morality, I will defend it. So same thing with value. What's valuable to me is different to somebody else, but I'll
Yeah.
defend that what I think is valuable actually makes sense for people across the board better than what that somebody thinks Gilberto will make a better husband than Yucca. Somebody does. Some religious, destroyed by the patriarchy woman out there would pick Gilberto over Yucca.
Of course.
And yet, you and I know that if it came down to defending those actual values, of course, we would find out, not only do we think our defense would be better, we would presumably compel more people with it.
But it's
than you
just the
could with
phrase.
Gilberto.
Alyssa, help me explain why the phrase high value is triggering us so hard.
Yeah, well, it just gives like Andrew Tate vibes, and it's always like the people.
That's
who
why I like it.
use-
Yes.
The people who use that phrase they use it as a way to devalue the women that they're trying to like.
That aren't choosing them.
Yeah, that aren't
Good.
choosing them.
Good. Because we should be having the argument not about whether the high value is the right word to use. Yeah. We should be winning the arguments against them about what actually is high value and what isn't.
That's the whole thing.
My
And we
whole
do
reason I want to
that.
use it. I'm just look though at y'all were attracted to my content at some point, and look at what my method of argument has been always. I will always go into their little house. Look at
Their
the
little
political
house.
shows you guys did with me. Did I ever go like, no, guys, fiscally, so and what? I literally was like, okay, your values are X, Y, Z. Here is why Trump is worse for you.
Yeah.
I will fucking take a person at the words they want to use, the language they want to use, and then make them actually fucking defend it. I love that Andrew Tate and Elon Musk want to call themselves high value males, because now I want them to defend the values that they are saying are high and see if it can go
And
against
that
the. I'm
is
1,000%
great.
on
Yeah,
board.
That's
with all
great.
I'm
And
on board
and you
with
should
that.
do that. I just
I hate
personally
the
that term, and I get triggered back to Tuesday nights when Alyssa and I are both looking at each other, rolling our eyes back into our heads so hard that we get a headache the next day, you know?
But what?
I feel
Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like high value. I'm glad that the term exists because it is an immediate indication to me that I do not want to spend time with that person at all.
It's
Like
like,
if someone refers to themselves as a high
Jimmy's
value
personally offended
man,
now.
I know.
I am.
Yeah.
Jimmy's like, as a high value man, I'm deeply offended.
If
I
someone
definitely think
refers to
I think I
themselves
work
as
to
a high
being.
value man. I'm like, okay, so you follow Andrew Tate. Like that's literally like
Yes.
you are a Joe Rogan, Andrew Tate ass.
It's like when
man.
somebody calls in and they're like, well, what do you mean by blah, blah? I'm like, okay, Jordan Peterson, bro, goodbye. I don't want to hear your argument. It's
I
a dog
think that-
whistle
It's a dog
for
whistle.
worse issues.
I
Yeah.
think that we are in a different position than most people are, where we're not just here to sit and consume those words and look for the red flags of who we're going to date. We are tasked with battling those words. And so
And we
while
do.
anybody who would want to say, I hear high value and I hear red flag, fine. But I think that I think even the clip with Gilberto, which again, I was thinking of because I was like, oh, this perfectly illustrates like the thought I was having, was you describing to him, you aren't as high value as you think you are.
Well, I
Of
asked
course,
him
and that's our tactic.
I asked him several times, like, what does that mean? What does it mean? Like, what are you? I literally said,
Exactly.
What are you,
Perfect.
Gilberto, bringing to the table?
Right.
That you consider yourself high value.
We're,
and he said,
we're not disagreeing
charisma.
with you.
Charisma.
Oh, that was hilarious. He literally said charisma. He said
Charisma.
I can make you
Like cult
feel
leaders.
a way that another man has never made you feel.
That
to
was
which I said,
crazy.
you are doing that right now because
Yeah.
I would have been
fuming
so
mad.
tempted to be like, yeah, because with every other man, I was
Rage.
sure when he was inside.
No, Jimmy, I think the issue here is I fully agree with you. Like that is what Alyssa and I do. Like that's our tactic. We absolutely, I think that's the number one thing we do in these conversations is kind of turn it back around on them and ask them to hold up their end of the deal and explain to us why that's even true.
Yeah.
When they call in and they say that promiscuous women are awful and all this stuff. Okay, tell us why. Explain why that's true and it's not true of men. All of that. I think we just also hear that word, and that's where our head goes immediately. So
I get it.
I think both are true.
I think your head going there as far as like a red flag or something goes is fine. I also think that, and we've talked about it, I think that we on the left, actual true left, have too many people who will be reactive to things like that and throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because the phrase men should aspire to be high value men is true. But right now a man hears that and they hear people saying like, ew, gross. No, you shouldn't. High value men, disgusting. And it's like, those men are like, wait, what? Why would that be wrong? When the thing that is wrong is now they're getting intercepted by a different group of people who are like, are you feeling ashamed for trying to be a high value man? Well, we won't shame you over here. And here is a high value man. Here is 5'9",
Sure.
dumb mustached Hitler, or maybe a more modern example like Andrew Tate. Do you know that Hitler was 5'9"? I know it's not important, but it's important to me. Anyway,
I'm like, is that short?
For a man? I mean,
I aspire
it's
to
below
it.
average.
I aspire
it's a
to
little
that.
below
Is it
average.
below?
Yeah.
I dated someone
Yeah,
who was 5'4", so at this point.
Yeah. And look, Trump and Elon are both tall, and so it's not a universal rule.
They are?
Yeah, Trump's 6'2", 6'3", Elon's 6'1", I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think Alyssa...
Trump claims to be 6'4". He's not. Definitely not. Anyway, the whole point being, we actually should be trying to take... I feel like we are losing so heavily. And now it's turning out we're starting to lose like Gen Z. Like Gen Z is growing in conservatism, which is alarming. And I think a lot of it is because you have these phrases that are very simply true. Something like men should aspire to be high value men. But then you let the other people define it and then you react just against the defining of it. But you pull in everybody who would use that term. I think the phrase high value men has so much potential.
It does.
To be
It's
powerful.
Like, it reminds me a lot of the way that we talk about when people call in about toxic masculinity, where we'll say like that actually we don't even want to use that phrase because that's just not masculinity at all.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. It feels like if you say toxic masculinity, then it's not like masculinity to me is not inherently good or thank you, is not inherently good or bad. Like there isn't, it just is a descriptive word that we use. So as soon as you say toxic, to me that's not masculinity, that's some kind of
bad behavior.
Bad behavior. Thank you. Alyssa's remembering better than I am.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's one of the ones that we created the phrase and then also failed to define it well. Because toxic masculinity, if anything, should refer to like default systemic authoritarian masculinity, which is what toxic masculinity is.
You know what I think my problem is? And this
my God. Don't just leave that hanging. I have a list.
I think my problem is I just don't like buzzwords in general on either side of the spectrum. Like toxic masculinity or high value men, or these things that get used over and over and over again. I understand that it's helpful and that we do these things.
You're never going to win the let's stop using buzzwords argument.
Of course,
ever.
like they just are, and I use them all the time myself. But I sit there and I type #deconstruction and I cringe at myself because I fucking hate that term. I hate evangelical. I hate all this stuff.
You
but
also
I
just
get
use
it.
the word cringe, which is also a buzzword.
Yeah, but cringe is, I love that word. So it's
See,
fine.
it's you're
because
like
cringe is something that happens to us all. Cringe is universal. We all experience it.
Cringe is universal.
It's a thing but I don't.
There's a
Okay,
pretty leading
fine, let me
theory that the
specify
reason why
more.
Gen Z is going so conservative is because they don't want to be cringe like their millennial parents.
I
think-
have so much to say, but I don't want to offend any Gen Z listeners.
Oh,
But
I do.
we're
Gen
gonna
Z,
talk
you guys
about
are
cringe.
fucking.
They are the
you guys
cringiest.
suck.
They are the
You
cringiest.
suck.
Holy
And also,
Lord.
cringe feels like just a way to like why do you care so much more about other people's opinion than you do about doing the thing that might actually be fun? You're so worried about everybody else's opinion. That's the cringiest thing I've ever heard in my life.
And they're advocating for us to all wear these jeans that are shaped like a freaking
Oh, I saw
you.
the barrel.
The barrel jeans. What are they
Fuck
even
outta
on?
here.
And then telling
I don't
me
know
that
what
I
this
can't
is.
wear my skinny
bad.
jeans anymore. Skinny jeans
is
are
it- who is
iconic.
doing this?
Audrey Hepburn wore skinny jeans. Everyone can wear skinny
They're
jeans
also
the rest
don't
of
worry,
their lives.
coming back. They're coming back
Who's
already.
Oh,
decided-
okay, because they decided.
Who decided on the U jeans?
Gen Z.
Oh, weird. Do they have like a inflatable in them so you can just sit
It kind of
anywhere?
looks. It looks like
It looks like they already are.
You could pump them up.
It's
little,
not a
little
good.
pump pant.
It's not. I don't like it. I'm not into it.
I,
Luckily, I don't think the line has too many Gen
No.
Z listeners.
I don't.
No, I think we have plenty. Look,
Do we?
I'm sure there are people from Gen Z I like. There's, as a generation, it's like they're really turning out to be so. I feel like as a millennial and seeing how hard it was to get other people in the millennial generation on our side, but millennial generation is the first generation that is actually increasing in progressivism and leftism as it ages, as opposed to decreasing. And unfortunately, it looks like the next generations are following the old trend, which is sad.
That is sad. And
Doesn't mean
scary.
that right now. I think they still have a higher concentration of like the people who do actually do stuff. It's that normal
Yeah.
trend still follows. But
And I will
I don't know,
say,
I'm real.
on a
I hate
positive.
millennials too, though. I hate
Well, of
every
course, I just
generation.
hate
But if you
people.
bring up one generation, I'm gonna go, yeah,
Right.
fuck that generation.
I just
I
hate-
hate men and guys. I'm sorry, I hate women. I hate them both.
You're not allowed to
I
say
just-
that.
Everyone's horrible.
Yeah.
And I hate collective cultures almost across the board. So you get too many men in a room, and I'm probably going to hate the culture of those men. And I'm sorry, get too many women in a room, they're going to be mean to each other, and I'm going to hate them too.
Not in my experience.
I know.
The
but they're
nicest
so
rooms
mean.
I've ever in are
The nicest rooms you're ever in are all women?
Yep.
Well, yeah, as a woman, all women. Yeah, sure. I was to say, the nicest rooms I've ever in are definitely not all women. It'd be all men who's bonding over something so dumb.
See,
That's like a male culture thing that like truly is a thing that we should invite women into more, because y'all are missing out the like
hold
joy
on.
of like
You think that women
the
don't
dumbest-
bond over the dumbest shit
Not-
possible?
I am saying men don't bond over much dumber shit than women bond over.
I could get on board
the
with that.
dumbest shit. Thank you. The dumbest shit.
I don't know.
It'll be like, I'm trying to even think of the example. Like you go out somewhere and you're throwing a rock there's this like a tree branch that's like kind of askew, and everybody's throwing a rock. And then whoever's rock makes the branch finally fall out of the tree, that man is the god of the day. Everyone freaks out. They are like pumping that guy up. It's the dumbest
That's very cute, though.
shit.
That is cute.
It is adorable.
The thing
It
is, I think
and
women
and
are
it's a thing we
capable
don't
of
let
more,
women in on.
so we hold
because
each other to higher
if one
things.
woman gets there, now all of those men are just throwing the rock to impress that woman and have forgotten about the men. We're awful. We're awful people in that way. But yeah, we bond over the dumbest shit. I was to say that's the nicest thing I've ever had. I
That was actually just a retelling of your favorite moment in your life.
yeah. My favorite moment was literally hanging out with a porcupine all night. No men involved.
One time I hung out with
real one?
a possum
Yeah.
all night and I went and pet it.
Went out on a walk. A wild possum?
Yeah, a wild
Scary.
one. Now I pet 3 of them because now I know it's a thing you can do. Now I just see a
Yeah,
possum
they're
and I
pretty
go
nice.
pet it.
I didn't pet the porcupine. I just walked
was a
around
little
with it
nervous
for
that you
literally from
They
like
don't-
3 a.m. to 5 a.m. I just walked from crabtree to crabtree with this porcupine,
And it
kept
didn't like stick
No,
you?
just hung out. Every time I would move a little fast, he'd quickly turn around. Or she actually, I think she was a girl. She quickly
How
turned
close
around.
did you get?
Very close. Yeah, I mean, I'll send you photos. Really, really close.
Alyssa got my joke and Jimmy didn't.
Oh, got it. Gross. I will say because I'm a man, I prefer the way men are toxic to each other to the way women are toxic to each other. And every time I see like the way women are toxic to each other, it's got to be that other side. It's like, man, I would way rather be with the guy who might like murder me than the woman who will like talk about me. I like
I've
that. It's so funny that there's that dichotomy.
Yeah.
And it's obviously being murdered is worse. And yet from my side of the fence, it's like, oh my God, the idea that there's a group of women just talking about me somewhere is way scarier than a group of men plotting to murder me.
I've said before that if I could choose the gender of my future hypothetical children, I would want them to be boys and not girls because I fear that the girls would psychologically take me down. And the boys would just be like sticky.
Wow.
I'd rather be murdered than talked about. I don't know what
Yeah.
it's such it's such a
different
social anxiety thing.
experience.
And obviously we're speaking, I know there's gonna be people come, we're speaking in like
Yes.
broad categories.
We're
And
joking.
there are women who more fall under the male
course.
sort of broad category, and there are men who fall more under the women's broad category. But it's like it's terrifying. I've worked with women who all were nice to each other but hated each other behind each other's backs. And again, I was the problem in this scenario because back then I was still in my toxic masculine phase to where I'm like helping prepare. Oh yeah, you're the good one. That kind of stuff. And then when I think back on it, it's literally just like it's scary and sick where it's like with a guy, if a guy hates you, they'll just fucking like punch you. Like it's so much nicer to know that a man will be toxic in such a forward way because I'm not a woman, so they won't manipulate me. But you two don't get access to that because you're women. So they're going to actually return the same manipulative bullshit until they're in a place where they feel safe to take the mask off and be abusive. And then they will. Then they'll be physically abusive. So men are still the worst sex, for the record. Gender. Men are the worst gender, for the record. I'm just terrified. It's the gender I know, and I'm terrified of the one I don't.
Do y'all want to see some really cute things that I made?
Yeah.
On that note.
What a weird...
Jimmy's like, why are you doing this? You're ruining my podcast. Okay, but it's a little... I've been playing with them this whole time, and I have to show. It's a little tart.
Is it a pie?
And it's another little pie.
How did you make this? Is it resin?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, I had to share. Anyways.
No, that's okay.
I just felt
Someone's
important
going to
in light
comment
of
like,
this
she just really wanted
conversation.
Jimmy to stop talking about that awful stuff. That
I didn't, actually. I want you to continue. I just want you to do it
No, I don't.
knowing that I made these
That
cute
you made
things.
cutie little resin things.
There's
Thank
actually
you,
an irony
Alyssa.
too where I'm like,
You should put
I
magnets
know
on the back of them.
That's what I want to do.
You should do
they're going in your ears.
Yeah.
magnets.
Oh, that's cool.
No.
No, like earrings.
No.
I think they'd be
Studs.
too big for earrings,
They're-
but they'd make very cute magnets on the fridge.
Thank you. What were you going to say, Jimmy?
I don't know.
Good. We interrupted you.
Something about being a
This
man.
The craziest podcast.
This episode-
I liked it.
Can
we've
we
done
call it
since
something
episode one.
wild? Like the most serious episode the line has ever done.
You can edit it however you like.
Oh, God. Guys, this is never getting released.
No, I like it. I understand. I also get the privilege of being able to be more forward and talk about whatever I want. I feel like most of the comments are going to be like, Jimmy clearly made them so uncomfortable that whole episode.
Do you want us to tell
Please.
everybody that you didn't?
You did not make anyone
But
uncomfortable.
honestly, what's going to happen is right after the episode is over, they're going to message me and be like, we just want you to know, like, we recognize your authority. You're such a high value man. And we just like, but the thing is like, there are these girls we don't like and they like you. So we didn't want to like give them because we're toxic women. And
Sounds like
I'm
me.
trying to think of how
That
to dig
sounds
this
exactly
deeper.
like
Sounds like
Alyssa and
me.
I. Okay.
No, these two are actually so supportive of women.
My
that
favorite-
It was like something weird to adjust to because YouTubers in general aren't very supportive of other YouTubers regardless of gender. And so then when it was like, wow, you guys actually care that there's like no backhandedness to any
I
of
think
your...
people are kind or
supportive other
they're
women.
not. Like it's either like that's a value to them or speaking of high value things, I think that's either a value or it's not. And I remember when you called and you told me about the idea for chewed gum and you were asking me if I wanted to be a part of it and you're like, I have like the perfect person that I think you guys would love working together and she is super cool and she doesn't ever have any of that like competition. Like that is a thing that I've personally dealt with and it's made me a little like wary of who I work with. And Alyssa is just literally the greatest thing ever and I love her. And I think she's just a kind person and I think that's why it works so well. I don't think it's not, I mean, I do think Alyssa and I are definitely like, yes, we support women and all that, but I also think there's just like a general, well, that's why we love you too, Jimmy. Like a general like kindness, like we love people and we tend to give the benefit of the doubt and like and I think that actually pays off most of the time. except
Those
for
core
when I have to get a
character
divorce
traits, though,
because of it. But
can still come into conflict with like societal programming. And I don't think there's I don't think either of you would argue that society doesn't teach women to be shitty to each other to get ahead, right? Like that's
Sure.
the default. That's the
Yeah.
default culture that,
Yeah.
and
I don't know
But
how I would
also-
word it, but something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But, you know how to pick them, Jimmy.
that's right. I am the positive patriarchy now.
The
Because what's
positive
important here is
patriarchy.
that I have taken the good women, the good ones.
Oh God, this is
almost
getting
like
so bad.
almost like some
The way
what would
you
you call them,
lit
like
up-
tokens.
The way you lit up and you went, that's right.
I did do
found-
this.
I've found the good ones and I have put them in a hierarchy with me, a man, at the top. It's
sure.
perfect. Perfection.
I think Alyssa, tell me what you think about this, because I also feel like I've been talking over everybody here this whole episode.
No.
But I feel like what's frustrating.
That's all the time we have. Good night, everybody.
Okay.
Just kidding. Go
I
ahead.
feel like what's frustrating to me is back to the whole like interrupting conversation is what I don't like to hear is people making comments like, oh, you're being talked over or whatever, or like Jimmy or Matt or Forrest aren't letting you talk or whatever. And then I just show up in conversation the same way you guys do, which is where sometimes we interrupt each other. Because like you said, we can tell the other person's wrapping up, or we're like, let me get this in, or there's a delay or whatever it may be. Like generally I tend to talk a little bit less just because I don't have as much to say and I'm like still learning how to do all of this. And it still gets disproportionately called out on one side or the other. To me, that's frustrating as a woman because something about that feels like it's taking away. Like, do you guys think that I come on here and do this show because I don't want to do... You know what I mean? Jimmy doesn't have us in contract. I could literally just say, I don't want to show up here right now. I don't want to do this. Anytime I've done a show with anybody on the line, it's because I wanted to do it and because I said yes to it and I showed up. So, I don't know. Do you get comments like that, Alyssa, when you host with guys?
I haven't really hosted with guys. I've only ever done chewed gum. So I don't think I've ever.
So you
gotten
just
a
get the comments that are like, Promise is so rude to Alyssa and talks over.
I'll bet if I go back though and look at the show we did, I'll bet you there's probably plenty of comments that are like,
when we've done the podcast, but I don't even.
or like the first time you came on the line was with me, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I just think it's frustrating. Like, I don't know if that's called white knighting. I really appreciate on the show when Jimmy will, the show's done. When Jimmy will point out, like, hey, you're interrupting Promise. Stop doing that. Like, to a caller or Forrest, Matt, they're both good at doing that as well. I love that. It's not my favorite when people in the comments start doing it because I actually have relationship with the people I'm hosting with. Mm-hmm. You know? And so I know what I'm signing, and I'm choosing to, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my take.
Well, there's a lot more choice and like agency involved than people are giving you credit for.
Yeah,
And, like,
I think that's what it is.
And it's like they're making you into a victim that you're not.
Right.
There are probably people who have like good intentions in.
Of course.
Now, look, here's
I
the
think
thing.
I think always or almost always.
No, not
Jimmy,
always.
do you know that
half of them are literally just there to like, I make myself feel better by saying these people are worse than me. Like that's half of it's fake online activism. But like, I mean, truly, if you just go and I agree that I talk too much and I probably talk over people too much. That said, I don't host that much stuff anymore, so it's probably even worse now because I'm like, this is when I'm on and able to say shit. But also, I'm one of the hosts who probably should do more call-in shows solo, but there's just enough. I have just enough talking shortcomings that I prefer to have somebody else, whether it's to bounce off of or whatever. And that's why I will tell people, you can talk as much as you want to. So if you want to talk a lot, just start talking and I'll let you have the floor. And if you want to talk a little, I'll fill in the gaps.
That's why I like hosting with you, because sometimes I'm down in case a conversation comes up that I want to be a part of. But sometimes the best thing I can do at that point is be like just in the passenger seat.
Yeah,
like,
you're like support.
I'm support. Yeah, and I think, I don't know. I don't like feeling like people don't acknowledge that I chose to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I get that.
What were you gonna say, Alyssa?
Oh, do you know that I got pushback about our conversation about ADHD?
Sure. I mean, of course, you said ADHD and you had an opinion, and so somebody
What happened?
fucked it and heard about
Was
it.
Were you on the show that day, or was I? No, I was with Arden, I
No,
think,
not
that
me.
day.
You had better been perfect.
It was when Jimmy and I were talking about ADHD, and I was basically saying like we exist in like a neuro like typical world. So there are things that if you are neurodivergent, like you have to just create systems to exist in a world that's not gonna shift for you.
Right.
And there was a woman who called, and she listens to the podcast, so I know she's gonna hear this too. That was concerned that I was being kind of ableist with what I was saying, and like I disagree, but it was an interesting conversation because then she later said that she feels like her ADHD is a gift, and then there were people in the comments and she didn't like that we were talking about it like it was a disability, and I was like, well, it is actually like
Disorder.
really disabling for me. Like there are things about like it's not
Right.
it definitely makes my life way harder than it makes it easy.
What is it if it's not? I mean, you can literally apply for disability if it's severe enough. And the D stands for disorder.
Yeah, she was arguing that it is like a superpower for her specifically, which is, I was like, that's great.
That's awesome. That's a cool
Love that for
reframing.
you.
But for a
And-
lot of people,
Right.
they need...
What wonderful privilege that is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was like actually, and it was an interesting conversation because I'm going through like my medicine has been making me really, really nauseous for like the past, honestly, forever. And
That's
recently
awful.
I can't take it. And so I haven't been taking it. And I'm reminded of all of the symptoms of my ADHD that I forgot about. Like the anxiety is so bad. And so I've been thinking about her call because I'm like, I'm so happy that she like found a space to be like, this is a superpower for me. It is debilitating for me and for many other people. But anyway, I don't know what made me think of that, but yeah. That
if anything, it's
conversation was
ableist to
interesting.
tell people that their experience with their own disorder is invalidated by yours. Like,
Yeah.
First of all, ADHD is a spectrum.
Right.
You may be on a part of the spectrum where it is actually mostly beneficial because you're getting the things that in some ways make things better for you and in some things worse. This is the whole thing with like whether you're allowed to talk about a cure for autism. And I'm sitting here going like, I think I should be allowed the option to decide if I want it. I just don't think anybody should be forced to have it.
Yeah.
But
And it depends on what you are doing with your life,
I could
like
turn
how
off
it
my
affects
autism.
you. Like
For
what
sure.
kind of career you have, or what kind of,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, even what city you live in, I think all of that would impact.
For sure. And like, you know, I've heard people say that having ADHD is like the reason why they're able to have jobs that are creative and like stuff like that. It helps them like shift from one thing to another. I'm like, I do not have that experience at all. At
Sure.
all. I'm like, I cannot shift into thinking that it's a superpower when my ADHD is bad. I literally cannot figure out what to eat, and so I just literally don't eat for an entire day, and then I feel unwell. That
That's
doesn't
part of
feel
it
like
too,
a
like-
superpower to me.
Right.
right, depending on where a person is in their treatment and stuff, they may right now also only be focused on, like, it's easier for me if I'm trying to do a lot of social stuff to see where my shortcomings come in with my autism in-person social situations, and to think like, God, this is my autism. This is horrible.
I thought he just had like a long pause.
Yeah.
My autism just froze
Oh.
me. It should be there in the
Now you're
it's
there.
recording
Okay,
locally,
great.
so it should
We
be
just
there.
get
in the
our awkward
post.
reactions. That's good.
Yeah. But I was saying like it can be easy for me to focus on the shortcomings when I'm in a situation where the shortcomings are prevalent. And so whether a person is able to then be like, oh, but even though that's happening, like I'm really good at doing the accounting for the line and I'm really good at logistics solving and all that stuff. If their life is presently being ruined by some other aspect of it, for you, it's like when a person, to me, what that person is doing to you is the equivalent of a person being like, why are you depressed? You just had such and such happy thing happen. Why aren't you focusing on the happy things in your life? You're only focusing on the depressing. Don't be sad when you're
Right,
depressed.
right.
Anyway, this show is going on way too long. Who wants the last thoughts?
Not
I'll
me.
just say that because I do think that woman does listen. Like it's ultimately it's fine to share opinions like that. Like happy that you wanted to share, happy that you wanted to call. You offered a new perspective. I still disagree, but whatever.
Call me. Let's fight me about it.
Yeah. I have no.
Maybe you'll listen when a man tells you it.
Okay.
Go to jail. Go
Why?
to jail.
What if that is the problem? Do you know, there's studies on that. Things like
Okay.
even women listening more to the authority of a man when
What?
given information about medical stuff.
What did you say? I wasn't listening.
You're making fun of me.
That was good.
Ableist. I have autism, so anything you do to make fun of me is automatically ableist. How dare you?
How dare.
The world is terrible, and I do think men are the problem. Bye.
Saved yourself from cancellation right at the last minute.
Oops, I'm playing the wrong thing. Ah, fudge. No, we're still going. Hang on. That's what I meant to play at the end. No, I'm not safe from cancellation. Are you kidding? This is the internet.